scummy, why are you an asshole? I think I might have said this like once or twice before, I don't know. Oh scummy, why are you wasted every day, every single moment, every hour that you're away? I only wish that I had the chance to get it on with Pam Anderson before she lived like my spirit animal. Danny DeVito, he is my hero, and I'm sorry that I got distracted from what the song's about. Oh scummy, why are you such a piece of shit? Okay, maybe you're not a piece of shit, and I'm just jealous. I only wish that I had the chance to get it on with Pam Anderson before she lived like my spirit animal. Danny DeVito. We are the ones who don't know what we're fighting for. Give us a gun and send us all off to war. We are the ones who grow up in violent homes. We are the ones who don't know what's right or wrong. I know. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No more. We are the ones who don't know why we're losing score. Give them a badge so they could send us to the morgue. We are the ones who are scared to walk out the door. We are the ones who don't know what we're dying for. I know. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No. Get off his fucking neck. That makes you know. He can't fucking breathe. That makes you know. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest episode of I'm No Joe, your home for all things combat sports, and the place where every armchair quarterback can feel like Ben Bronco. The views and opinions presented on the I'm No Joe channel belongs solely to the person expressing it, no one else. If we say it, that means we meant it. That being said, this show does contain adult themes, adult content, and general shit that you shouldn't be letting your kids intake. Be advised, viewer discretion is recommended. Proceed at your own risk. You've been warned. So I said, lady, you think that's bad? This one's eating my popcorn right. If it's Thursday night, you know where you are. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, I have got a glorious panel here with me to break down the shit talking and shenanigans, the fight news, and the fuckery that is shaken down the MMA pipeline since we saw you wonderful folks last. Before we dive into all the fun and fuckery, first and foremost, gentlemen, how the hell you all doing this evening?
All right, nobody wants to talk, I'll fucking run with it. Fucking fantastic. Tomorrow's Friday. We got fights on Saturday. What more could you ask for?
Oh, yeah. I don't ever want to step on anybody's toes. That's why I always try to sit back. You know, this is your podcast more than it is mine, brother. So I always like to let you start. That's all it is. I'm also exhausted as fuck. Really burnt out, need the fucking weekend, need the rest, but I'm happy as fuck we're about to get some fights, get some football on Sunday. I'm glad as fuck I get to talk fights with you boys tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I agree. I'm just glad to be back here. Sorry I missed last week, guys. Had a bit of a rough go of it, but I'm back.
Good shit. Good shit. Glad to have you gentlemen aboard. Gonna kick things off this week the way we like to do most weeks. A little bit of news and recent events, little nuggets that have shaken loose from the MMA tree, fight announcements. We try and steer away from most rumors, but if it's relevant enough, we'll bring it to you. We don't do recaps if it's interesting enough. Generally speaking, we will throw up a YouTube short here about it real quick. We have not done for the last couple fights. One, because we fucking commentated that shit live. And if you want to hear what happened, just go watch that shit. It's hilarious. I fucking promise you. I still laugh watching it. But the last one, we were all so caught up in all of the ridiculousness of everything that went on. I don't think really any of us had the presence of mind to think to do one. And ironically enough, luckily this week, as is the case in a good number of weeks, the first segment of news chunk we've got starts us right back with last week. I will start by saying this: whether you gave it 3-2 to Grasso or 3-2 to Shevchenko, I can see the argument for both cases. What I and pretty much no one in the world can see, though, is why the fuck Mike Bell not only gave round 5 of Valentina versus Alexa to Grasso with a 10-8 score, but why that was his 5th 10-8 score of the evening turned in last weekend, and it didn't raise a single suspicious flag until after the fact when Valentina brought it up in the post-fight press conference, because she went right away and looked at all of the scorecards for the evening and caught that right off the top. She said maybe he was caught up in the Mexican independence fever because every 10-8 he gave was in favor of one of the Mexican fighters on the card last weekend. Well, apparently it wasn't just Valentina and those of us with a skeptical eye that thought that something was a little fucking fishy there, because immediately after the fight and all of the hubbub kind of blew up and then settled down a little bit, as it were, the Nevada State Athletic Commission announced that not only are they going to officially review all the fights and the fight scores turned in from UFC Noche, they officially held a conference and educational seminar this Monday with criteria specifically being the 10-8 scoring system as it exists and how it pertains to fights being scored live. So the shit is a little bit ridiculous. The fact that there is no way, even through the athletic commission, for a judge to actually be held accountable for a score they turned in no matter how ridiculous it is, just shows how far we still have to go as a sport, period, let alone as a combat sport, trying to differentiate itself and its scoring criteria from the boxing standard that it branched off of, which even itself has grown from what MMA is still using in large part. So hopefully this will make at least somewhat of a ripple. Luke Thomas was talking about it a little bit earlier today. California has been doing shit like this for years. Pre-pandemic, California State Athletic Commission was doing shit like this on a regular basis and inviting journalists, licensed judges, referees, basically anyone involved in the sport to be a part of it openly. Nevada is just now catching on to this, and it took such an egregious and unexplainable score in a title fight on what is being touted as largely the most watched fight night the UFC has ever put on. So on the grandest stage possible, a judge blatantly makes a fucking stupid mistake that cannot be justified in any way, shape, or form. And the repercussion is, well, now we're going to have to teach everybody what 10-8s are really supposed to look like. No, we still have a long ways to go. It's a good step. It's them at least acknowledging that there was a fuck up, but we still have a long ways to go in terms of that. That being said, we got an announcement this week, kind of roundabout, not necessarily directly, but directly in a sense of how it was explained. That'll make a little more sense in a second here. Angela Lee of ONE FC went on a podcast this last week and basically gave a full public telling of her story of the last 6 years. For those of you who are unaware, Angela Lee is the current champion on the ladies' side of ONE FC's martial arts house, has been on and off for the better part of a decade. The reason it's so significant about the last 5 years is because in 2017, Angela was involved in a crash that nearly took her life. They thought that she would never walk again. She might not survive the recovery, let alone get back to the sport and back to the top where she actually is now. We've come to find out that the car crash wasn't an accident, that due to whatever circumstances she hasn't alluded to directly, she was under so much pressure at the time to make that fight, and not only make it, but to make it perfect, that 2 weeks out, she still had 12 pounds to cut, and her body had stopped responding to all the traditional weight cutting methods she was used to. And she had started to feel such an existential pressure that she was starting to look for any way that she could to get out of the fight, just so that she couldn't show up and miss weight and have to live with that embarrassment. She tried to break her own arm and couldn't do it. She tried to hit herself with a fucking hammer to give herself a concussion so that she would be ruled out, and she couldn't do it. So she got in her car and she put the pedal to the fucking floor. And when she got in front of a bridge and she saw the needles pegged down on the speedometer, she yanked the fucking wheel, hoping that it was all going to be the last thing that she saw. Luckily for everyone involved, that was not. She survived, she recovered, and she is back to tell this story, but not only tell this story, but to confirm and finally publicly acknowledge that last year, the death of her 18-year-old sister, Victoria, was also indeed suicide. She had taken her own life due to the pressures that she felt in the life that they are leading, is the way that she had explained it. As a result of this situation and her deciding to finally come out and speak publicly about how much of a serious and unaddressed issue mental health is at large, but even more so in the world of competitive fighters, that she has started an organization called Fight Story to help support, endorse, and give resources to not just fighters, but anyone who needs help, anyone who feels that they are that low. There is help. Reach out. But amazingly fucking tremendously brave of Angela to come out and tell the fucking story about the car crash and about her sister Victoria. And I will be putting the link to Fight Story down in the description. If you need it, use it. That being said, back into the fight world here. Sorry to go a little dark, but she deserves her fucking moment. So does that organization. Back to the fight side of things here. We didn't get a lot of announcements this week, but the ones that we got were pretty significant. And I'm going to start with the first one, which was an official announcement. It was more of a call out that will very likely be made into a fight given the circumstances here. Kevin Holland, coming off of the very strange performance here, has said that, yeah, shit was weird, so we go forward. So what he wants now is he wants to fight Neil Magny in what he himself is calling a loser cuts that funky ass hair match. Both ranking wise and mop wise for both gentlemen involved, I think this makes a whole lot of sense given what the division is going through right now and about to go through, which we'll talk more about in just a minute. I think that the Big Mouth versus Neil Magny fight makes a whole lot of fucking sense here. I know the UFC isn't going to tie that hair stipulation to it, but if they make that matchup, those boys will make some way to make that an official tie-in. So good on Kevin for trying to get back to a little bit of lightheartedness, kind of shake off the ridiculousness and get back to what he should be doing, trying to march forward. So we'll see if it unfolds. I have a feeling it might. Speaking of ridiculous, though, coming off of last weekend, Chairez versus Lacerda 2 has officially been confirmed after a bad stoppage, review, recall, and then no contest determination in their fight. They are putting those boys right back in there for UFC Vegas 81 taking place in the Apex October 14th, coming up in just a couple of weeks. So they're not going to let these boys sit and get cool. They're going to keep them still while they're hot and still ready in the zone, throw them right the fuck back in there. I like it. I don't like that the UFC added that October 14th card out of nowhere in the last 3 fucking weeks, but I like it. I like the match. That being said, UFC 295 already has more than its fair share of fights on it and already has one of arguably the year's most anticipated title fight in the form of John Jones versus Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight belt. Well, we just found out this week what the co-main event is going to be for MSG, and it is going to be another belt, the currently unobtained vacant belt at light heavyweight, 205 pounds, will be on the line in the co-main event between the returning Yuri Prohaska and Alex Pereira. That is going to be a very, very interesting matchup for a whole litany of reasons. If Yuri is indeed actually healed up properly, you better hang on to your asshole, because that's going to be craziness. That fucking co-main and main event is going to blow the lid off of Madison Square Garden. I'm telling you right fucking now. So we'll see if that actually comes to fruition once we get a little closer to November. But if everything plays out, god damn if the UFC doesn't have MSG teed up for a big one. That being said, December 2nd, location TBD, because UFC hasn't thought that far ahead yet. Taking place, we have got a pair of very interesting fights here. The first one, the long-awaited return of the cupcake herself, Miesha Tate, stepping back into the octagon to take on Julia Avila, the angry panda herself, at 135 pounds. So it seems like Miesha, with Amanda gone, is trying to angle her way right back into that top contention and maybe try and snag that belt one more time before Father Time taps her on the shoulder for the final one. Could be very interesting depending on how it plays out, but it could also go the other way just as easily and just as excitingly. So we'll see how that one shakes out as we get a little closer and how those ladies look as we get closer to that fight. The other one, though, we've heard rumors about this fight, I know of at least 3 times this year so far. Well, the rumors are no more. Pen has been put to paper. Ink has dried. It is official. I's dotted, T's crossed. Puniello Soriano is officially getting back into the cage, and he is taking on none other than Dustin Stolfutz on that December 2nd card. So they are sticking interesting fights on one of the last fight nights of the year for the UFC. Now, I will say, to their credit, not to be outdone even by their own announcement, they followed that schmear of announcements up with the final pay-per-view of the year, UFC 296, taking place December 11th in the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. We haven't gotten placement of the card, but we have got the main and the co-main event for that card. And once again, not to be outdone by their own previous pay-per-view event in 295, UFC 296 will end the year with a pair of title fights. In your co-main events, highly anticipated matchup, Alexandre Pantoja will take on Brandon Royval for the flyweight strap, and I think that fight's gonna be fucking spectacular. And then in the main event, long talked about but finally official, the welterweight strap goes back on the line. Leon Rocky Edwards takes on Colby Chaos Covington for 170. Not the fight anyone wanted, but the repercussions, if this plays out the way that most people think it should play out, could be very interesting for the welterweight division going forward. And it should at least help clear some things up fairly quickly. So the last pay-per-view of the year is going to be a fucking banger for the UFC. Very excited to see how we get a little closer to that. They fill the gaps in there as well. Another rumor that we had heard for a long time, we heard straight from the horse's mouth, confirmed this week. I know you boys are going to get excited, but try and restrain yourselves. Sugar Sean O'Malley has officially stated that he will move to featherweight just as soon as Alexander Volkanovski gets the fuck out of the division. He wants nothing to do with Alexander the Great. He don't want none of that fucking smoke, straight from his own mouth. As soon as Volkanovski is out of the picture, he will make his immediate move to 145 pounds. So that is a statement without even having to make it a statement. And I was actually kind of happy to hear it, because with everything going on at 35 right now, for him to even consider bailing in the middle of all this shit, I would throw my fucking remote control across the room. So he understands that he at least has a little bit of work he has to do at bantamweight for all the shit that he has talked over the last year and a half or so. And then he can go up to 45, where he probably realistically should have been this whole fucking time. And we'll see how a closer to natural Sean can do against some of the elites up there, because there's some bad matchups up there for him. There's some good ones, but there's some bad matchups up there at 45 as well. We will see, but again, it all hinges on how long Alexander the Great sticks around in that featherweight strap contention. That being said, speaking of featherweight greats, I would be remiss as a fan and an MMA journalistic, I say with air quotes, person, if I did not take a moment out of my news segment tonight to tell you about this story. Pretty much anyone who follows combat sports, even if you haven't directly had the conversation, if you've watched more than a couple fights and you enjoy fights, you know that when a fighter retires, that fight becomes the single most significant fight of their entire career. Doesn't matter how many titles they won, doesn't matter how many years they fought. The final fight of their official career becomes the bookend of everything their life culminated into legacy-wise. There is no changing that. That fight is the end of it. So it holds a more significant place for most fighters than any other. And that's hard for a lot of fighters to deal with. One thing that makes it a little easier for a lot of fighters who have at least been willing to talk about this is keeping that final fight kit and framing it with one of those final fight posters. So anytime they get that nostalgia, they can look back, they see their fucking gloves, they see their shorts, they see their face on that fucking poster, and they can relive that moment. that moment was just made a little bit sweeter for Chang Sung Jung this week, because he got a package in the mail containing a very sweet letter and a pair of signed gloves from one Max Holloway for their fight. Max signed and then sent Zombie his fucking gloves to put in his retirement case, so it's a complete fucking set. So it means that much fucking more. And just completely overwhelmed and already thinking about doing it now, obviously pushed over the edge to do so, Chang Sung Jung found a charity in Hawaii that works with Max Holloway, vested, verified, bound, good charity, and donated $20,000 fucking dollars, and then got that asshole Jay Park to match it with another 20 grand. That's the kind of fucking story that MMA makes me love. That's the kind of shit that deserves more fucking airtime than assholes that we have to end this fucking news segment. That's why I wanted to slide that one in real quick here, because fucking A right, TKZ, fucking A right, Max Holloway. Those are the kind of fucking people that you can tell that's an MMA fighter. That's what they're supposed to fucking be like, both in the cage and out of. Those are representatives of mixed martial arts as a whole that I am proud to fucking tell people about. Awesome job to both of those fucking gentlemen. And Jay Park, I guess, because he had money and is being a bitch and trying to rob that TKZ shadow off a little bit, but whatever, fuck him. That being said, though, then we get into the tail end of the news here, and it's not pretty. I tried to make it a shit sandwich. I tried to open with some shit, get a little compliment in the middle here, but then unfortunately we're back down to that shit wafer on the other side of the sandwich here, folks. Sorry, bear with me. I'll grind it out quick. The first one here, to the surprise of only a few who haven't really been paying attention, Ovince St. Preux has officially received his second consecutive USADA suspension of 6 months, this time for testing positive to 1A testosterone, basically a confirmed anhydrous source of exogenous. He took testosterone from outside his body and put it inside his fucking body, like you're not supposed to when he got caught. Too many big words caught now. You know how it goes. 6 month fucking suspension, and it turns out this confirmed is why he was pulled for his originally scheduled fight last month in August, because he pissed hot, and USADA now has that no announcement violation policy, so they didn't officially say anything. They just yanked him from the fucking card, and now that it's all been put through and he has spoken about it publicly, USADA has confirmed it. So fucking OSP just can't quit fucking up, apparently.
Yeah.
That being said, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I did read up on that the other day. They actually sent the supplements he was taking, and it was found in his supplements, and that's the second time that he's used supplements that are not approved by USADA. And so the supplement that was used, they found that trace amount of whatever in, because the first time, the last time he pissed hot, same thing, was only a 3 month suspension because they found it in an outside supplement.
Yep.
This time 6 months instead of what would be a full year normally for a piss testing hot. But they're only giving him 6 months because, again, he's using a supplement that wasn't on the okay to use list.
The approved list, yeah.
If that doesn't make you go, maybe I should use the okay to use list, nothing fucking will. And at that point, you're 40 years old, fucking retire then. If you can't get right. You've been in this game long enough, he should be knowing what to do.
I will start by saying, with all due respect to Ovince St. Preux, what the fuck? And that doesn't just go directly to Ovince St. Preux. That's him because he's the lightning rod of this story. But that goes to any fighter on the UFC roster, well, and now PFL roster, period. But specifically for the UFC fighters, because the UFC Performance Institute not only will do your fucking meal prep for you and send you all of your prepped meals ready to eat to cut your weight perfectly and safely, dietetically down to where you're going to be, they will also send you 100% of your full supplement list from the approved sources for free with your fucking food. Any contracted UFC fighter, they have confirmed it 3 fucking times now. You can get all of your in-camp to fight food and supplements delivered to you for free. Your weight cut will be professionally confirmed by their on-staff dietitians to make sure you are tapering accordingly and not literally killing yourself. And it is all free and approved by USADA and the UFC. There is zero fucking reason for any fighter on the UFC roster at this point to test hot for any fucking thing. Anything. I don't care how fucking old you are. I don't care if you just came on off the Contender Series, you're on a 12-12, or you're Ovent St. fucking Prue. They will give you every fucking thing you need, approved, tested, and verified for free. If you get caught, you were fucking cheating. Sorry, folks. I ain't Willy Wonka. I don't get paid to sugarcoat a goddamn thing, and I'm not gonna. That being said, the final one we've got here is a little bit ironic, but a little bit sad at the same time. Yes, I am a petty bitch, and yes, I do think this is kind of fucking funny, but at the same time, there is a little bit of poetic irony in it. We got confirmation directly again from the horse's mouth this week that Jake Hager, professionally known as Jack Swagger, has officially retired from MMA as a 3-0-1 professional, and directly cites Bellator as the reason, stating that he had been working out and stayed in camp for the entirety of the 2022 and 2023 fight calendar year and has not so much as been offered a single fight. They let his contract run out on the time deadline, and once it expired last month, did not send any intention or make anything known that they had any reason that they were going to try and renew his contract or re-sign him. At which point he officially became a free agent. No other organizations were interested in him. Bellator kind of built him up as a bit of a gimmick. So he says, fuck it, and he retired. Now, on one hand, that's the proper move. He doesn't need this financially. He doesn't have to get punched in the goddamn face to feed his fucking children. You're okay. Go do something else. On the other side of that, if what is arguably the number 2 organization for MMA in the world in Bellator can't keep a washed out WWE clear, genuine MMA intentionalist, what CM Punk wanted to do, come in 3 fucking fights, 3 fucking wins, and then a no contest. They can't keep that guy fighting in a year. They don't offer him a single fucking fight, so much that he's willing to just give up on MMA altogether. And the guy's in his fucking 30s and clearly swole as it fucking gets. He's ice cream cone shaped. That dude should be doing something athletic for a living right now. Maybe not getting punched in the face, but he's clearly got the physique and the drive to do something in that fucking world. Bellator literally had a golden goose in their hand and let it walk the fuck away. So disturbingly so that the man gave up on mixed martial arts altogether. Yes, it makes me giggle that a pro wrestler couldn't hack it in the real fighting world because nobody else wanted him. At the same fucking time, what the fuck are we really doing here? Are we actually going to let a world become a place where we have to accept 12-12 cans coming out of the fucking Contender Series because nobody is willing to actually take a risk on a fucking fighter who might take a little while to get to their real fucking potential? Dana is ruining the sport and people are standing idly by and letting shit like this, which could impact that fucking destruction, just get swept aside. And I don't fucking understand it. Yes, it's funny that Jack Swagger couldn't hack it when he really got punched in the face. At the same time, the guy went in 3 fucking times and got 3 fucking wins. He clearly has what it takes to, at least at some level, be a professional fighter. They couldn't, the number 2 organization in the world can't keep this fucking guy in the ring? What are we doing? Are we just going to accept this fucking fate and let the cargo clear off the cliff because Dana's holding the wheel? Or are we finally going to start fucking saying something collectively and getting some people some fucking appreciation? I'm not saying you got to love everybody, but maybe it's time for the fans to get a little more fucking vocal and try and stop shit like this from fucking happening before we do end up living in Dana's fucking world with no other options. Maybe that's just me. That being said, guess where we end the news segment? Same place we've ended it every fucking week of this year. Because no, Dana, having to live with the knowledge that you slapped your fucking wife multiple times on New Year's Eve down in Cabo is not punishment enough for those fucking actions. You do need real accountability. And unfortunately, me doing this seems like the most you're going to get. So there we fucking go. That being said, any of you gentlemen have anything in the news I might have missed this week?
Oh, I do.
Ooh, he's excited about that one.
Yeah, because it falls directly into combat sports. And number one, ESPN dropped the ball on this. Any fight promotions have dropped the ball on this. Well, I can't say fight promotions, but anybody who covers any sort of combat sports related material has dropped the ball on this. We got back-to-back team world champions for U.S. men's freestyle wrestling. Back-to-back world champions, team freestyle wrestling. Let me reiterate that again. Back-to-back team freestyle wrestling world champions, the USA. ESPN didn't cover this. They got a slight, the golf clap is what I'll call it. To be honest, that's a fucking failure. Considering ESPN is paired with fucking the UFC, you would think you would want to put more combat sports towards the front of that line. Wrestling included, because a vast majority of MMA fighters come from wrestling backgrounds.
Yeah.
And you don't want to talk about, especially in the United States, maybe not in the rest of the world, but in the United States, you generally want to cover your US teams, because it's not just any wrestling, it's Olympic-based freestyle wrestling. So it's something that you're going to see Summer Olympics. That's how that shit works. Yeah, they do wrestling Summer Olympics. That's right. So it's something that's there. And how it got fucking missed that the US team went back-to-back world champions in freestyle wrestling, never fucking know. But kudos to them. Well done, boys. Keep running it. Let's go for a three-peat.
Yeah, good shit. Yeah, you would think, especially with guys like Bo fucking Nickel, that the UFC is just strapping their cash cow saddle onto as we fucking speak coming up, that they would want to push more of these fucking all-American collegiate fucking wrestlers. Guys like Justin Gaethje, who has the fucking BMF belt wrapped around his fucking waist, all-American collegiate fucking wrestler, you know, seeing as how they've got multiple up and coming and current fucking stars on the roster who came through this exact program, and now we've got back-to-back world fucking champs. You know, why would they want to mention that on ESPN, the home of sports?
Yeah, it just blew my mind a little bit. And to be honest, I didn't see it on any other fucking sites that do cover any sort of combat sports, not as like a big headline. And to be honest, that's a big fucking headline, because that's a tough thing to do. The wrestling world is fucking tough. And to do it back to back like that, that's fucking impressive. So how nobody covered it, I don't fucking know. We'll cover it here for them.
We'll fucking cover it. You goddamn right. We'll give them their fucking moment of shine for that. If you boys got anything else? All right. Well, that'll wrap up news for this week. So if you've been watching fights for a while, like a lot of us have, sometimes you look at a matchup and you're like, I know exactly how that fight's going to go. And then you get a little closer to fight week and you start seeing a little more video and a little more footage and a little more in-depth and a little more in-camp. And you're like, oh, shit. Did I jump the gun on this one? Maybe I was a little too eager to throw the fucking hat in one direction here, and you got to break out the old flip-flops and start walking back the other direction a little bit. Well, we got a guy who specializes that here on the show. A little something we like to call rethinking with Ramie.
What's up? Thank you, man. Appreciate the intro. There's one solid fight on this card that I had to go back and already have rethought, and I'm positive I'm going to stick with this decision. And you guys will probably call me crazy. You guys tend to, but if you go back and check the scorecards, I've been right on these last few. But no, I went back in the Bryce Mitchell Dan Ige fight. I, like most of you guys, probably have Mitchell winning this by decision or a possible submission, most likely. And that's where I had him too. I had him right in that same arena. And then I started going back and thinking some things through and looking at some Dan Ige fights. And I was watching Bryce Mitchell. Look, Bryce Mitchell actually has got a pretty decent chin on him. You know, I mean, the kid has actually got a decent chin on him. He's been cracked a few times, stuff that would have put a lot of other people to sleep, and he's stayed in the fight. The Ilya Tapora fight, obviously, you know, I mean, that was a bad one for him. But, dude, he took some punishment in that fight. Ilya was not nice to that kid. And what occurred to me was that I don't feel like Bryce Mitchell's come into his man strength. But I feel like Dan Ige, he's just got that death touch, man. He's just got to touch you, and you're done. And I have a feeling that I'm seeing Thug Nasty going down. I feel like I'm going to see his legs wobble out from under him, and he's going to get pounded on the ground. So that's what I've come up with, guys. I kind of a Bryce Mitchell fan up until just recently, with these allegations that are coming out with this new videos footage of some shit that he's decided to pull off with his, I don't know if they're current or ex. Yeah, some bullshit that he's pulling there. So I'm not really excited about that. And that actually didn't even pour into why I'm changing my mind on him. It was just I started watching Ige. I went back and watched some of those Ige death touches, man. And he's just, I think he's got that dad strength, that man strength has come in on him. It usually hits in your early to mid 30s. I mean, don't get me wrong, Bryce is right behind him, but I still don't. When you look at the difference in their bodies, and I know this always doesn't make a difference, but you look at difference in their bodies, and Ige is solid. Now, Mitchell is built like a wrestler, built like a jiu-jitsu artist more than he is a puncher, obviously. But he still likes to try to stand and bang. I mean, you know what? Was it Gracie that said that every fight starts standing? You've got to learn to be able to bang. And I think he enjoys it. I do. I think he enjoys it. But the other thing that caught me was Ige's speed versus Mitchell. There is a massive speed difference there. And that is the other thing that caught me. And I was like, no, I don't see, unless Mitchell is able to just throw a hell of a shoot on him, shoots on him really, really good, and gets him to the ground and is able to submit him somehow. I don't see it happening. I see Ige landing. I see him getting some touches in on him. And if you're getting touches in, then there's a chance that he can take him down or take him out. And I think that's how it's going to happen. So that was only one of them that I really went back and thought through. I'm really confident in the most of my fights. But this one, I had to go back and rethink it because it just didn't feel right in the end going with Mitchell. Now, guys, like I said, I may end up changing my mind later down the road because I like watching the weigh-ins. And I tend to change my mind on weigh-in day too. Like that could be a huge impact to me. But as of right now, I'm going with Ige, TKO, round 1, because I don't think Mitchell's going to be able to get in on him. It's what I do, bro. It's what I do. But yeah, man, I think Ige's got what it takes to get this done. I know that the odds are actually fairly close to, they're actually, that's a flip flop in my opinion. But a lot of people are thinking Mitchell can get this done, and I'm just not one of them.
Right on. Much appreciated, sir. I've got to say I'm fairly inclined to agree with you. I can definitely understand why some folks would be leaning towards Mitchell getting this by submission. He is one of the few people to have landed Twister in the fucking UFC. He has shown he is very, very adept on the fucking ground. But he also hangs his fucking chin out there and is willing to eat shots to try and get to where he wants to. And that's not been a problem with a lot of folks, but the Topuria fight specifically showed that if you crack him with a good one, he will wobble. And prior to him changing it several more times, getting to where it is now, there was a reason that they initially called him Dynamite Dan Ige. Because when that fucking thing touches you, man, when that goes off, it's fucking over. And I definitely think that if some form of fuckery happens and Bryce can get it to the ground in the first, maybe early second, while they're still dry and there's plenty of energy left, Dan might have a problem. He doesn't have the greatest ground game, but it's not.
No, but at the same time, I agree. I think it's not. I don't think Mitchell has ever been hit with the power that Ige is going to bring. And look, if Topuria can put him down, then what's Ige going to do?
Right. And in my opinion, and I hate to be that guy, but if I got to, I fucking will. I am all for support where you fucking live, man. Help feed the fucking grass you walk on every goddamn day. I love that he stays so fucking true to all of that fucking, this is my Arkansas shit. I'm raised here. I'll stay here. At the same fucking time, a weed can only get so big in a concrete fucking sidewalk gap. If you want to thrive, sometimes you gotta fucking move. And it seems like Bryce Mitchell has just gotten too used to being the big fish in that small fucking pond down in Arkansas. And like you said, I don't think he gets hit hard. At least not very fucking often, not often enough to make him think about it, because he's too.
I think Topuria was the hardest he had ever been hit. I think that one, and Topuria is not even like a power puncher per se.
Well, he is.
I mean, well, all right,
it's not his best attribute, but he's got a good fucking rocket.
He does have a good arm. I'm not saying he's not powerful. I'm just saying that's not his like main strength.
Yeah.
And he got rocked by Topuria. Exactly. I mean, Topuria is amazing. He crushes motherfuckers.
And it's going to be a big problem real soon at the top. Yeah.
I think the craziest part of that is, of all the people that he could have gotten rocked by and didn't, was when he fought fucking Edson Barboza.
Yeah.
Edson could have fucking taken his head off.
I can't believe that, man.
Well, I think that's the thing that's propelled him up to this point, is he's been riding on that high.
Past a couple guys that should have been able to fuck up and they didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. But Ige has been in this game for a long fucking time. Ige is faster than Mitchell. I was watching some fights. He is faster than him.
He's fucking good, man. He's underrated because he had a couple of bad fucking fights go not his way, and people forgot who the fuck Dan Ige was, in my opinion. No,
and I kind of did too. And I went back and started watching some shit, and I was like, I don't know if this Mitchell kid knows what the fuck he got himself into.
No, I am proud to officially say that I think you might have flip-flopped correctly this time.
All right. But yeah, no, that was my thing. I literally, I was on the Mitchell train, man. I was riding that Mitchell train, and I had my pick in, and I was like, I can't do it. I just can't. After going back and watching some fights and just seeing a few things on both sides, I was watching some weaknesses, like you were saying. He does, man. He leaves that chin out there in order to entice you in order to try to get that,
get his positions.
that. Exactly. So I just, but Ige is too fast. He's been in this game so long. He will have seen everything that Mitchell has to offer 1,000 times before this fight. So anyway, that's what I got, guys.
Nice. Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
So that being said, that will bring us to the point where in a normal podcast, you'd get some kind of a bullshit mid-roll ad for some fucking company that has nothing to do with the podcast, for some product that nobody on the fucking show actually fucking uses, and we don't play that fucking game here. This podcast is sponsored by patreon.com/I'mNoJoe. If you would like to help out what we do around here for as little as $1 a month, you can hop on over there, join up, and get your name on the end of every broadcast on this channel as a thank you, as well as access to unaired and literally unairable content, things we legally have to keep behind a pay and age wall. So it not only helps us do what we do, it gives you a little bit of haha for it as well, and a thank you publicly for helping us do what we do. That being said, if you've been watching fights a long time, like some of us do, you tend to inadvertently develop almost a set of blinders. You know what comes on that you like, when it comes on, how to watch it, where it is, the whole kit and caboodle, and you just kind of lock into it. And the bad part is that, as you may know, you can lose the forest for the trees. It happens to the best of us. But luckily, here on the show, we have ourselves a bona fide young person who can finger the MMA pulse ever so delicately and help keep us abreast of all the names that are going to be names before they are names, all the folks that you need to know in a little segment we call Slows, Cans, and Contenders.
Hell yeah. Appreciate that. So before I get into my cans and contenders and start figuring things out, how about you finger the pulse? How was Tuesday night? Since I know you mentioned how much of a joke it was, because I did not have time to get a fucking glance. Did any of the motherfuckers that won a contract actually deserve it?
I will say this. I've been trying to catch more and more of the Contender Series because, like it or not, a lot more of those names are making it onto the UFC roster. So I'm not happy about it, much like with Ultimate Fighter. I try and skip all the bullshit and wait till fights actually fucking start. And while they're rolling B-roll, I'll go do a dab or take a shit. I don't fucking care. I just want to see how you fucking fight. I don't give a fuck what your story is until I need to know. This week was another one of those weeks. I managed to come in and catch when the fight started. And then I apparently didn't realize that he does this fucking bachelorette type give you a fucking rose auction at the end of these fucking shows to tell these guys and gals who wins their fucking contracts. What a fucking cunt Dana White is. If I haven't expressed it enough before, if he hadn't blocked me, I'd be giving him fucking reason to. What a cunt Dana White is. You salty fucking prick on your fucking ivory tower high horse. God damn it. He reminded me so quickly why I watch shit that he's involved with on mute. Just that aside, the fights were not all terrible if you consider that these are people trying to enter their way at entry level for the UFC. But this, in my opinion, is part of the reason why we don't give you much shit when you miss these fights, because the ladies' fight on that card, in my opinion, was the most exciting fight on that card, and it was a boring fucking draw. The giant Dagestani volleyball player that Abdul Manap recruited into MMA, that literally fell down into the position he landed on with his hand around the gentleman's throat, who literally, even DC was yelling, just put his arms out waiting to tap while they adjusted the choke because he didn't know what the fuck he was doing. And then when he finally got it in and actually squeezed, the guy immediately went tap, tap, tap. No one that got a fucking contract this week should have gotten a fucking contract, in my opinion.
All right, I appreciate that. I'm glad you filled us in. That's pretty much what I fucking expected. I'd heard something about the ladies fight a little bit, but nothing actually fucking really stuck out. You know, you hear about things and something truly sticks out.
There was something sticking out, all right. It was underneath Dana's fucking table.
Good shit. All right, so for this weekend's card, like a lot of these cards that we don't get pay-per-views, you know, we get a lot of cans. There's a lot you can choose from on the fucking can side of things. I'll start it off nice and obvious. Hannah Goldie. Throwing her in the can, shouldn't be in the fucking UFC. Yeah, I mean, I like Molly McCann. You know, getting your ass beat by Molly McCann is not the greatest sign in the world. She's a middle of the pack fighter, even if she's fun as hell to watch. They fucking. I think you know Mizuki Inone. I always try to pronounce names the best I can. I think she's still got some potential. You know, just 1-1 in the UFC. Chick's really young. I think she's gonna run through Hannah Goldie similar to how Molly McCann did. It's gonna be a fun sight to see. I got Cody Brundage in the can this weekend too. You're 2-4 in the UFC at this point. The guy has taken a lot of short notice fights. I will give him credit and respect where that's due. It is always tough to go in there on like 3 days' notice or weeks' notice. His last fight that he lost, it was like short notice. Took it on a few days or a week's notice. Give him that little bit of a pass, but he's not shown us much of anything since he's been in the UFC. I think his only decent win was beating Trayshawn Gore. This doesn't say much of shit. Just really, I think Jacob Malkoon, nothing to fucking be excited over himself. Only 2 finishes in his career, and I think Malkoon's going to run through fucking Brundage pretty easily this weekend.
I would like to
You want to add
interject real
something,
quick, if I
Rick?
may. Yeah. I will give Cody Brundage all the credit in the fucking world for one thing and one thing only. And it is not his fighting ability. It is being able to stay married to Amanda fucking Cooper. That woman's voice is nails on a fucking chalkboard. Nothing he's done in the cage has impressed me, but the fact that he seems happily, I say in air quotes for those of you listening, married to Amanda fucking Cooper. My hat is off to you, sir. I would have seeked that light at the end of the tunnel that only the primer of a 12 gauge can give you if that was my situation.
It was good shit. So I feel like that just helps further the point that Brundage gets thrown in the fucking can. And we got this. So this one's always sad. You know, you got some fan favorites, but we got to be honest. You got to throw in the can. Michelle Watterson. You know, she is the karate hottie. She's always been one of the, you know, finest looking women in mixed martial arts. And you got to give her that credit. She's a badass. Almost 30 fucking professional fights in her career. She's always been back and forth. You know, she's been exciting early on in her career, but here lately it's been real rough for her. 1-5 in her last 6. Don't expect much this weekend. I mean, it's going to be a boring fight more than anything. She's going against Marina Rodriguez, decision machine. So, I mean, you could throw that fight in the can as a whole, obviously. Rodriguez, her record and everything, always kind of being in the top of that division and shit. Wouldn't necessarily, most people wouldn't throw her in the can just yet, but they're both on the older side of their career, and we know the fight's going to be boring as shit. Rodriguez is probably going to come out on top. Boring ass decision, just trying to hold Watterson down to the ground. It'd be awesome to see Karate Hottie go out there and finish Rodriguez because this fan, like I said, fan favorite. That'd be the fun fucking moment. That's what would get us going a little bit. Like, ho ho, you know, that'd be exciting. But you got to throw Watterson in the can. You just got to be honest with it. AJ Fletcher, throwing him in the fucking can just because he won his last fight doesn't mean he's shown me anything, in my opinion. Losing his first 2 fights really badly. Like coming in undefeated and having a bunch of finishing potential, being one of Dustin Poirier's dudes. We know you trained with Dustin. He's fucking jacked. He's like Joaquin Buckley. Dude looks like he should be fighting at 185 or 205. He's fighting at fucking welterweight, and he's got no speed. It's similar to what Ramie was trying to say about Bryce Mitchell. Dude, slow as fuck, looks clumsy as fuck in there. Maybe it's just nerves. He just wasn't ready for this big time or something like that. The kid had skills in the regional scene. Once he gets to the bigger side, he's looking pretty bad. I think he's going to have a rough go of it against Brian Battle. I don't think Battle's anything special just yet. The dude's got potential. He's had a couple of nice knockouts in his last few fights. Now, I think he's definitely going to, shit on AJ Fletcher, throw him in the can. And then we got the obvious can of a fight, Muhammad Usman versus Jake Collier. I like Collier just because he's a Missouri boy. I always try to root for Missouri boys. But the dude's the literal definition of back and forth. He has lost his last couple fights in a row, but before that, his like entire MMA career, literally win a fight, lose a fight, win a fight, lose a fight. He is the definition of back and forth. He never lost a couple in a row until like his last few fights. He always win again after losing, but then his ass would lose after that win. Hopefully he can get a bounce back just because I'm rooting for the Missouri boys all the time. And I ain't going to root for Muhammad Usman. I don't care if you're Kamaru's brother, and I've always enjoyed Kamaru as a fucking fighter. That doesn't mean I got to fucking like your ass. You got no skill. You're fucking heavyweight. It's just like AJ Fletcher. You're not in horrible shape. He doesn't look like Tai Tuivasa. He's pretty jacked. He should be good at wrestling, right? He's Kamaru's brother, things like this. He doesn't seem to have great wrestling skill. Dude can't strike worth a goddamn. He's slow as all fuck, just like you said about AJ Fletcher. He's got some of the weirdest fucking striking when he tries to throw a goddamn punch. And in my opinion, got the luckiest fucking knockout in the world over Zach Palga to win the damn Ultimate Fighter and put himself in this situation. On top of Kamaru being his brother, he just helped him actually get in there. But, oh, he got a decision win in his fucking debut, I guess. There's that. He could win this fight, but it's going to be a walrus slap fight, dude. There's nothing to fucking be entertained with in this fight. You got to throw it all in the can. Contenders I'm looking forward to, touched on battle. At this point, I'm throwing him in the contender spot because, like I said, he's got that potential. You go out there, you knock out AJ Fletcher. That's now, 3 out of your last 4 fights. You fucking won, and you won by knockout finish. That's what you want to see out of a fucking fighter, man. He's not very well-rounded. We've seen that because of his loss against Renat Fekretdinov. The kid, I feel like, is in the right weight class moving down to welterweight. He's been looking like he's growing. He's still young, you know. The Ultimate Fighter ain't what it used to be, so just because he won that, can't hold that up to much of anything either. It's just similar to what Meter said earlier. Dana White's kind of fucked the game up. And you have to drop your expectations just a little bit. Like I said, the kid's still young. He was an Ultimate Fighter. He's had a few knockouts here. Let's see what he keeps doing. You keep that rolling, we'll call you a true contender. But we're throwing him there because he's got that potential. He's edging his way up. I see Golf T just shaking in his spit like he's writhing in hatred. I already know where he's going to go when we get to go.
Here, let me make it so there's less white on here so you can understand I'm on the dark side of the force on this. Fuck that guy.
He made that clear. We like who we like. Frankly, I don't love the kid. You know, I think he's a little egotistical. He's a little over cocky, and that's not a good thing.
Well, obviously you don't like him. You're only willing to suck him off, not fondle his balls.
You know, I mean, it's like I've said before. It's like the last time I put Rosas in the contender spot. Try to be honest. You know, I'm not no negative Nancy like you. I try to be positive and optimistic. There ain't no flip-flopping, goddammit. The kid in 1 second looks good, then he shits the bed, right? I'm not putting him back in the contender spot just because he knocked out Terrence Mitchell. There's no flip-flopping there. There ain't going to be no back and forth. I'm not like Ramie. I did it the one time. It's like, oh, maybe the kid's got potential. He's really fucking young. And he shits bed. No, it's fucking done. It's over with. That ain't changing again. All right, let's get back to Miles Johns. You can hate bad all you want. Like I said, that's all I'm giving the kid, potential. We threw him in there. Miles Johns, though, you want to talk about some potential? I really fucking like Miles Johns. This fight in general, I could throw in the fucking contender spot. Dan Argueta versus Miles Johns. It's going to be exciting as hell, in my opinion. Whoever comes out on top, really fucking working their way up in the bantamweight division, going to get some exciting fights after the fact. I feel like Johns just edges this one, though, because he's got the experience. He's fought so much more in the UFC. I think 9 fights. He's like 7-2 in the UFC. Argueta's 1-1. So that's the biggest difference to me, but I'm excited as hell for it. You can throw the fight as a whole in the contender spot and just focusing on Johns because I think he's going to win this fight. You got Tamaris Vidal. You can throw a lady in there, 25-year-old, got some finishing potential. Her opponent, definitely not excited for her, even though she's undefeated 5-0. She's a decision machine, has 0 finishes in her career. I think Vidal's going to run through her, get herself another finish, look good. Like I said, 25-year-old young lady. We need more young ladies in the UFC going out there throwing down. So throwing her in there. Bryce Mitchell, we saw Ramie's flip-flopping earlier. I'm putting him in the contender spot because, like I said, being honest, he beats Dan Ige in a spectacular fashion this weekend. He's putting himself back into a decent spot in the featherweight division. And we also have to think about the dude he just lost to is the next in line to fight Volkanovski. The kid hadn't lost a fucking fight in the UFC up until that point. He's not well-rounded. Right? Like I said, I'm going to be honest. I don't think he's tough. Ramie touched on it. He's got a decent chin. His striking is not there. He does not have the same speed as a lot of guys in the division. But you beat Danny, he's going to work him back up. So we got to throw him in the contender spot. You can throw the fight as a whole in there, but I really don't think it's going to be entertaining if it goes the way I think it's going to go, which is really Bryce Mitchell just get some takedowns, trying to fucking control him, because that's his best bet. Get it to the ground, hold Ige down, because if you keep it fighting, even if you're tough and you last and Ige doesn't finish him, he's going to lose that fight because he's going to get his ass beat. We're staying honest with him. I feel like I kind of agree with Ramie. He's got a good chance to lose. I see where Ramie was flip-flopping on it. But if Mitchell wins, he's shooting back up. They're going to probably give him a fucking top 5 fight after it. But the obvious contender, main event. Rafael Fiziev versus Mateusz Gamrot. This fight is a fucking hole. Could be our literal fight of the year here. That was one of the best fights of the year last year. Sarukian versus Gamrot. Those dudes had unbelievable gas tanks, constantly kept pushing the pace. That was one of the most exciting fights we got to see last year. And that was all grappling exchanges for the most part. There was very little striking that went down in that fight, and they kept it exciting as hell. We're going to see some fucking striking in this fight, because that's where Fiziev's fucking bread and butter is. But Gamrot has still got a crazy gas tank. The dude is a fucking monster. That pole lock is something fucking special. I love that dude. I'm excited as hell for what he's going to continue to do. He might lose some other fucking fights because there's a lot of killers in that lightweight division. As we saw Fiziev getting his ass worked by Gaethje in his last fight. Doesn't mean Fiziev ain't going to bounce back here. Excited as hell for this. Both guys are contenders, whether they win or fucking lose this fight. Both of them going to fucking be there for a while. Have great fucking potential. Gamrot, whether you believe it or not, I feel like has some really good potential on the feet. It's not just the grappling shit. And that's where I feel like he's underrated in this fight. His gas tank is what I'm looking at. That dude it's like Mirage. He has no quit. He's going to push the fucking pace. He is going to be in Fiziev's face the entire time. And he's tough as hell. We have not seen him get rocked for shit. He's fought some tough dudes already. He lost a close-ass fight to Beneil Dariush. I'm excited for it. I'm rooting for Gamrot in this. I think he edges this fight out just because he is very well-rounded. People think of him more in the grappling, but I think he can stand and fucking bang with Fiziev. And that gas tank's what's going to help him win that fight. We saw Fiziev kind of gas out against RDA once the fight got towards the end. He honestly got lucky getting that finish in that last round because he was looking completely gone at the end of that fight. That's what was the most surprising for me there. And even in his last fight against Gaethje, he looked like he was starting to gas out. That was a 3-rounder. I mean, you're putting out a lot of effort. We get it. He throws down, man, but he better have worked on his fucking cardio going into this fight because he's fighting a fucking monster in Gamrot. But you got to throw that fight in the fucking contender spot. Love to hear what you boys got. Your cans and contenders for this card. The old Mexican standoff.
I'll go. No, my can is. I think I don't disagree with you on the AJ Fletcher thing. Being a can, I think there's a possibility. I like Brian Battle. I think he's a badass, and I do think he probably will win this. But I agree with you. I think it's almost exactly what you said, almost verbatim, because it's true. I went and thought this one through a lot too, but I'm sticking with Battle. But I do think AJ stands a chance. And then for contender, yeah, I think the Mitchell Ige fight, because if Mitchell does win, you're right, it bounces him up hardcore. So I think that's a good one for the contender fight.
I agree with you there. I feel like, just like I mentioned with Ige, it bounced either one of them back.
Yeah,
Ige's
either
won
one.
his last couple of fights and shit against some really tough guys. Just beat Nate Landwehr in his last fucking fight. He goes out there and knocks out fucking Bryce Mitchell. Get that man a top 5 fight. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think either one of those guys could go top 5 after this, if depending on if they win in spectacular fashion. That's all I got, sir.
No, you're good. The TJ is hurting now after you fucking said Brian Battle's badass too.
Let me make a correction to both of you right away.
I didn't say he was badass. I said he had potential. At least there's that.
I will never put him in a contender spot. In fact, him and everyone from that season of The Ultimate Fighter can go directly into the cans category. Every goddamn one of them. Oh, no, I take that back. They had one person on that season that had some fucking potential, and even that wasn't that great. So, as a whole, that whole fucking season of The Ultimate Fighter, can't. That fight as a whole, between Battle and AJ Fletcher, can't. The heavyweight fight, can't. I'm having a hard time finding a fucking contender on this goddamn card because it is a bunch of cans. Here, let's go contender because I'm excited to watch it, and that's to watch the old man Tim Means, the Dirty Bird. I will put him in contender, not because he's ever going to win a belt, but because I fucking like him. If we're going to play the light game or I think things are good, no, it doesn't fucking work that way. This whole fucking card is a goddamn sham. Like, we really got treated last week with this is the
that's why we're getting the hangover now.
This is the double hangover card. The only thing that is worthwhile is we're getting a touch of the hair of the dog in the main event to kind of keep us fucking from being too hung. Is even watching Bryce Mitchell and Dan Ige, I don't care about that fight, which is crazy. I would love to see Bryce Mitchell get another twister because he's got 2 of them already. But knowing that Dan Ige is probably going to clean his fucking clock, nothing exciting about that. And I like Dan 50K Ige. Bryce Mitchell as a fighter, cool to watch. As a human being, he's dumb as a box of rocks. Couldn't pour piss out of a boot if the directions were on the fucking heel. So that fight's a fucking wash for me. Like I said, it's hard to find a fucking contender. I can't even sell the karate hottie on this because I don't fucking believe in her anymore. The only thing I believe in is you put her in some high heels in front of me, my jaw is still going to drop. That is the one contender she will get from me. But yeah, as a whole, this whole fight card from top to bottom could go directly into the cans. Tamir Vidal, not a fucking contender. Monster Out and Rundown, not a contender. Hannah Goldie, the 2 opening fights on the card, all fucking garbage. Dented soup cans in the 50% off bin. And because they're dented, you get another 50% off the 50% off. And you follow it up with a shit heavyweight bout. Then we have to see Cody Brundage in here again. Why? It's just, even the premier prelim, Miles John, don't get me wrong, he's had some flashes of he could be okay, but he's never going to be top 10. Dan Argueta, get fucked. There's nothing about this card I like, so I'm just going to say as a whole, fucking throw it all in the cans, because if I hear one more thing about Charles Jourdain, I will hang myself. It's fucking bad. He's not that good.
He's
a tatted up white
5-5.
boy from Canada. Who gives a fuck?
He's dead even in the UFC. Oh, and he's got a draw.
Yeah, this whole card as a whole, outside of the main event, fuck it. I might not even watch this Saturday. I'll tune in for the main event. That about, let's see, main card kicks off at 6. That means this shit'll be done by fucking 10 o'clock. I'll tune in at about 9:30 to catch the fucking main event, and then I'll shut it right back off. I'll check the points afterwards.
Yeah, I can't fully blame you. I agree with you. You know, it's a rough fucking card. It's my fucking segment. So, you know, I try, you know, just make it a little fun, be positive and optimistic. Give these motherfuckers a chance, you know. But
it's
I
great that you're doing that.
Most of the shit. The one contender I fully agree with you on is fucking Dirty Bird. That was bad. He's a contender for the Hall of Fame. That's how I look at
it. Yeah. Just saying. I love that you put so much effort into doing that. But there are times when sometimes you just have to be honest with us and the viewership that the card as a whole is shit, and there's not one contender on the whole goddamn thing.
Well, that's why I tried to be as honest as I could. You know, I'd give it a positive spin, but I said Brian Battle has potential. I did not do what Ramie did. I did not say this kid is badass. I did not say he is going to go out there and knock out AJ Fletcher. I said if he does, then maybe we could consider him a contender in the future, right? I try my best to not put my own foot in my ass or mouth.
What I want to know is,
but keep it positive. Right?
How much of the income that you're making are you giving back to the pimp? Because, man, they're working the dog shit out of you.
Sadly, I only get 10% cut, so no, I can't give any money back to the pimp. I need it for food.
Dude, if you need a safe place, please let me know. I will get you out of that bad situation, no matter how far I have to drive.
Good shit.
So, excuse me. Christian probably isn't going to understand this just because he's so young yet. But this card is the MMA equivalent of going to an after-work function, having a wine spritzer and socializing, then going home and going to bed, and waking up the next morning like you just had a blackout bender. This is a hangover for no fucking reason. I will disagree with one thing TJ said. There is one person that I will say is the only valid contender that I can see shining through the steaming mountain of shit that is the fucking Apex card this weekend. And that is Ricardo Ramos. And that is not because Ricardo Ramos is the best fighter on the card. That is because with one single moment, he has the potential to end a hype train this weekend. Because up until now, we have had never-ending dump trucks full of TJ rope tie-inducing Charles Jourdain overload. And yes, he has done some very good things if you use the old cheerleader method. You put a cheerleader next to an ugly girl and she's going to look like a 10 every fucking time. But when you back that fucking filter up just a little bit and you look at the bigger fucking picture, suddenly that's just another kind of goofy bitch in a crowd of kind of goofy bitches. And that's what Charles Jourdain is, in my opinion. Yeah, he might have had some flashes, but most goofy looking bitches do get a couple of good flashes to get them some shine, but it generally doesn't last long. And I think we're just about at the end of that Charles Jourdain hype train track. And I feel like Ricardo Ramos coming in this weekend could be the conductor to slam that fucking e-brake and head off the fucking side to watch it crash. That being said, other than the potential Ricardo Ramos upset, you can throw this whole goddamn card in the fucking can section, in my opinion.
Like it. That's why I didn't throw that fight. In my opinion, could be exciting. Wanted to kind of put it as a contender fight, but Charles Jourdain, nowhere near a contender, even if he somehow goes out there and beats Ramos. But I fully agree with you that Ramos is a contender, not just for the fucking, ending the hype train. The dude's 7-3 in the UFC. He's got a little potential. Again, look at that little fucking world's smallest violin of potential for a lot of these people. That's the best that I'm giving them. Just try to give it a positive spin.
You are an optimist, sir, and I can appreciate that, but I'm a fucking realist.
The real world scares me, brother. I try not to live it.
You would probably say this is a full bottle too. That's the kind of optimism you have, and there's just a little bit in the bottom.
It's enough to wet your whistle, and it's full. It's good shit. I appreciate you boys. That's it for me, though.
Good shit. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. That being said, that will bring us to the only segment on this show that requires its own individual disclaimer. Tapology.com does not in any way, shape, or form sponsor, support, or endorse the I'm No Joe podcast. Yet. That being said, Tapology.com does offer you the option to go onto their website, create a free account, and make fantasy-style MMA picks just like we do. They even let you make groups on that site. So we made one. It's called I'm No Bookie, all one word, no spaces, or Group 965, however you need to search it. It is open to the public. You are more than welcome and encouraged to make your ass an account, join up into that open to the public group, and let us know who the fuck you are so we can hold you accountable like we do ourselves in a little segment that we call Tapology with TJ.
Back to the real fucking world. Here we go. All right. No hiding here or puffing things up because it is what it is. The scores are in. The scorecards have been set. Even with piss poor 10-8 round calls in round 5, fucking some people out of an extra W on their card. Actually, I would venture to guess most of us, but we'll leave that as it lays. So going back to last week's UFC fight night, Grasso Shevchenko 2. Let me say this. To start with, I think as a whole, most of us shit the bed. We're usually better than this. Almost all but 2 people in our group barely got over the 500 mark. One did not.
Technically, everybody broke 500. Thanks to Chris Taioni being a fucking idiot and a no contest.
I'm still calling it an 11 because even the split draw doesn't count. Neither does the Chris Taioni fucking stopping a fight early when it shouldn't have been stopped shit. But hey, referee's discretion. I get it. Shit happens when you party naked. The unfortunate part of this, with those 2 fights being, we'll call nixed from the point scheduling, Donna gets the top spot back again. Just kicking ass and taking names. I know tomorrow. What's funny is, we could have had a different winner. But unfortunately, somebody does a little too much of this and screws himself because he was probably flip-flopping between, is this fight going to finish or is it a decision? Picked the wrong fucking thing and couldn't get the same amount of points. So Donna beats out Ramie for first place because Ramie got 7 out of 11 correct. But couldn't pick a perfect fight or get a fucking extra point anywhere to save his goddamn ass if his life was on the line. Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with his picks last week when it comes to getting even a decision. Come on, man. Decisions were easy. You know, that is what it is. Now, thankfully, me and Don decided we weren't going to play double Dutch this week. We thought about it very closely, but then somebody said, no, you take your jump ropes and go home. I got this. Vin Dog, the booty hog, stepped in to step his dick out and just play single old fucking hopscotch by himself, using his dick as the lines, throwing rocks out in between it. He's having a gay old time down there. So, that being said, that's what's going on this week. Hopefully, this coming week's card, unlike last week's, we don't get so much fuckery, not so much bad judging, and a little better scores. Hopefully, we won't have to worry about calling the dishwasher repair guy again. You know, we're going to let this go off as a one-off situation, even though I can't say that that's the case because she's been tearing everybody the fuck up over there. Congrats to Donna. Vindog, I know you'll do better next week. Let's get you out of that bottom spot there. Now, that being said, if you have not joined the group 965, I'm no bookie on Tapology. Come join us. Talk shit to us. Let us know who you are so we can talk shit back to you. And if you're on this panel, know that if you say something fucked up, I'm probably going to give you hell if your score could have been the winner and you really screwed the pooch because you flip-flop too much. You know, that kind of thing. Oh, again, that's group 965. I'm no bookie on Tapology. Join us. Let us know who you are. We'll add you into the ranks with us. So on to this week's wonderful odds. As a whole, again, one of those cards where either the bookies are afraid to make outlandish calls or the UFC is doing really good matchmaking. I can't say it's hard to do good matchmaking when you're just throwing a bunch of fucking random cans at each other. I mean, eventually something's going to hit the wall eventually and stick. That's just how that works. So, most of the fights, pick'ems. There's only a couple on here that I would say are worth your while if you're going to do any sort of betting. And surprisingly enough, two of them are from the women's side of the house. And Hannah Goldie and Mizuki, they've got Goldie as a plus 250 underdog, as she should be. Mizuki coming in at a minus 300. Kind of a wide odd there. Now, again, we talked about this earlier. Unfortunately, the Karate Hottie and Mariana Rodriguez, same boat. Mariana Rodriguez is a minus 300 favorite over a plus 250 Michelle Watterson. Like I said, unfortunately, she's not going to be in the favor of anybody's odds, but odds are you put her in a short skirt and a pair of fucking high heels, she's going to raise some flagpoles. But, you know, still, the Karate Hottie is always goes out on her shield, so might be worth the bet on her end there because you know she's going to come to fight. I don't think I've ever seen her in a boring fight as far as women are concerned. She will bring it no matter what. Now, that leaves only one other fight that's not a coin flip. And that's one I don't even want to talk about. Cody Brundage and Jacob Malkoun. And rightfully so, the odds makers have this fucking 100% correct, in my opinion. Jacob Malkoun coming in as a minus 700 favorite over a plus 475 underdog in Cody Brundage. Do not, I repeat, do not waste your money and bet on Cody Brundage, hoping you're going to make some money because Malkoun is such a high favorite. Don't waste your fucking time. It's not going to pan out. You're going to lose money. This week, you're best doing some weird fucking line picks. Fucking do a couple of parlays, 3 or 4 fight parlays, you know? Those are going to be your best odds to make some decent money this week. But everything else, coin flips across the board. So, again, all of those pulling from BetMGM. So odds may vary depending on where you're looking, whether you're at DraftKings or whatever those fucking BetAG or whatever those stupid ones that all those goddamn fighters push all the time. So those odds may differ in various places, but through BetMGM, that's what we got this week. Hopefully, we'll make better picks this week, and there's not so much fuckery like last week. Although, shout out to whoever was running the music last week for fucking the Mexican card, because that shit was hitting different. I enjoyed it. It's like a fucking party. I wanted to drink Modelo's and fucking Pacifico and any other sort of Mexican beer I could get my hands on.
Hell yeah. Thanks, sir. Much appreciated. So that being said, before we talk just a little bit more about this card, and I don't mean just a little bit, I do want to give you guys the full combat sports menu for the weekend here. As is generally the case, teeing up things first thing bright and early at the ass crack of dawn for all you sun worshiping lizards out there. 7:30 a.m. tomorrow night, or tomorrow morning rather, because it is tonight, tomorrow over there. One Friday night fights, 34 Rodtang versus Superlek in what could have been one of the greatest fucking super fights. Superlek misses weight for one of the first times in his fucking career. So because Rodtang is a badass, the fight will proceed as a 3-round non-title fight instead of the 5-round title fight we could have gotten between these two. Still has potential to be very fun. This is still another one of those mixed martial arts cards that even if you're not a lizard and you don't wake up at the ass crack of dawn, you're still going to probably want to go back and watch some of the highlights if you get the option to, because I'm telling you now, there's going to be some. That being said, wrapping out tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, kicking off another one of the UFC's big feeder events here, LFA 168. This is another one of those. There are a couple of names on this card the average consumer of MMA will recognize, and there are a couple on here you're going to want to pay attention to because they could very well find themselves in UFC very soon with big victories. That being said, bright and early Saturday morning, kicking off at 10 a.m. Central Time with 21 fights on the card is Bellator 299, because, you know, what better when you go to Dublin, Ireland, than bringing an Englishman versus an American to cap off a 21 fight long card. That being said, there are some interesting matchups on that Bellator card, but you don't have to worry because they'll still probably be going on by the time the UFC kicks off. Main card starting at 6 p.m. Central Standard, like it was mentioned earlier for this UFC Fight Night, Gamrot versus Fiziev. That being said, like we have whipped that dead horse into the ground, there is not a whole lot to get excited about on this weekend's card. That being said, there are still a few, in my opinion, that have some potential here. So I think realistically, the majority of the card itself is going to be not worth gluing yourself to a television to. So I'm just going to cut straight to the meat and potatoes of this particular card here. So I'm curious how you gentlemen think the co-main event shakes loose. Are we confident that Ige's got the power and Mitchell's going to walk into it, or is Slow standing on his own island, so to speak, here, thinking that Mitchell can still pull it back in?
That's all going to depend on two things. Does Dan Ige touch him? Or does Bryce Mitchell get it to the ground? If Thug Nasty gets it to the ground, Dan Ige's fucked. Dan Ige touches him, he's fucking out.
You don't see Mitchell shoot hardly at all without throwing at least one punch, and Ige is a powerful well, I just spaced on the damn word there, but he'll catch you as soon as you try to throw. Like he's a what the hell is that called?
Striker?
Well, I mean, like whenever you're catching somebody after they've thrown. Counter puncher.
Counter striker.
Yeah, he's a good counter striker. Sorry, spaced on that.
That's why I said does Dan touch him? If Dan touches him, it's fucking over. If Bryce manages to get him to the ground, it's over. It's going to be a coin flip, but if my odds are on this, Danny Ige all day long to knock him out.
That's my thinking too. That's
Don't get me wrong.
I think it'll be a fun one to watch.
I'm still not sure about my fucking pick, what I'm going to pick, because
Yeah.
if Bryce does get him to the ground, his jiu-jitsu game is fucking solid. Really solid.
Oh yeah.
And he's good
No,
at
it's-
keeping people on the ground.
No, he is good at once he's got you to the ground. I think Tapology is one of the few that's actually been able to squeeze back up. Like he actually got up several times, but I don't know, man. There's something about Ige's power. He's been in the game for a long time. He knows what the hell he's doing. I just don't think Mitchell has anything that Ige hasn't already seen. That's all I'm saying. Like I don't feel like Mitchell's bringing anything new and special. It's just he does have decent timing on his takedowns, but he's so slow. Just slow.
I kind of feel like this is almost a little guy's version of the fight we saw in Paris a couple of weeks ago with Volk and Ty. If Ige touches him, it's donezo. Pull the fucking curtains. But if Mitchell can wrap him up, it's gonna be a big problem. And that's really how we saw Ty versus Volkov play out, because when Ty got his hands loose, Volkov's chin was right there almost every time. But when Volkov managed to snake around and wrap him the fuck up, it was all over. I feel like this one's going to be a real similar situation here. I feel like if Ige can get them hands working and he can touch him, we're going to see Mitchell fucking waking up staring at the fucking rafters. But if old Bryce can cook him to the bone, as he likes to say, I feel like that meat's going to slide right off.
I mean, I'm not going to be upset with either one winning, honestly. I think if Ige wins, good on him. If Mitchell wins, good on him. I mean, it's going to be a hard-fought battle either way. But I think that's going to be the fight of the night, honestly. Or it has the potential to be. Let me say that.
And for me, you touched on it earlier. He's been living off the Barbosa thing, Mitchell. But I was still really impressed with him beating Edson Barbosa. It really hasn't been that damn long. What, about a year and a half since they fought? Something like that. Maybe getting closer to a couple years. But he lost to Ilya Taporia. Like I said, that dude's about to fight Volkanovski for the title. He looks pretty damn good. That's all I think that was. Like, Mitchell looked off for sure in that fight, more than he's ever, like the slow factor that you've been talking about. He looked a lot slower in that fight than he ever has before. If he looks more of himself, I just agree with all you. I feel like Ige's got that power. He's got the ability to touch him. He'll probably win, but I just think Bryce is a little slicker with the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu. I don't know how good Ige's takedown defense is going to be, I feel like
Bryce, it's a pick 'em, dude.
Instead of a counter punch, Bryce will fucking dodge a punch, kind of try to slip to his backpack. So I'm leaning towards fucking Bryce Mitchell winning the fight. But I'm not going to be surprised no matter which way it goes.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that for sure. So with that being said, that brings us to probably the fight with the biggest stakes on the card, in my opinion, the main event here. Rafael Fiziev trying to wash the taste of that Gaethje loss out of his mouth and show that he still belongs up in the top. And Mateusz Gamrot just absolutely tearing his way through the fucking lightweight division on his way up towards the peak. So I'm curious, gentlemen, do we think that Fiziev has actually been out trying to work on the holes that Gaethje exposed, or do we think this Polak just fucking steamrolls?
I'll go first real quick, just since I've already got my mic off. Dude, you're right. Gamrot has an opportunity here to absolutely make Fiziev look silly. Like, just silly. But I don't know, man. I'm still like, man, there's something about Fiziev. There's something about that. dude, he believes in himself more than anyone else. But I mean, obviously, most fighters do. But that dude believes in himself. Like, you don't see very often in people that aren't good. I mean, that aren't winners. You know what I mean? The game. I don't know, man. It's gonna be a fight, but that's coin toss in my opinion.
For me, I'm not flippy floppy on it. I think it's absolutely. You said Gamrot's got an opportunity. Right now, I think he's going to potentially, potentially. He's going to dominate this fight in my eyes. That's my opinion, right? But I feel like that pole lock is something special, like I said earlier. Fiziev showed big holes in his game because he didn't really have any ability to get Gaethje to the ground. That's how Gaethje uses his, wrestling acumen to just keep the fucking fight standing so he can keep fucking swinging and banging. He got his ass beat by Gaethje. Gamrot's got that. He's got some power. He's got some striking ability. That fucking pole lock power, man, is something special. Man. That's how I think it's going to be. Like I said earlier on the contender segment, Gamrot with his gas tank, he's really well rounded. The dude just had his opportunity to get towards the top. He lost a close fight to Beneil Dariush. I think he's the next one in line. There's a lot more holes in Fiziev's game. He's going to want to keep it striking, but I don't think he's got that ability to get Gamrot down. He couldn't get Gaethje down, and Gamrot's just going to keep that pace. Eventually, he'll tire out. Gamrot's just going to put it on him. I don't fully see a finish from either one of them. I think it'll just be a war, but I think Gamrot can. Like you said, not an opportunity. I think he's going to make Fiziev look silly.
Yeah, this one's another one of those coin flips for me because I think on the feet, I really think Fiziev much better on the feet than Gamrot. However, Gamrot does have a gas tank, and his striking is definitely improved since he's come into the UFC, and you've seen it tenfold. If he puts Fiziev on his back, he'll outwork him, tire him out. I don't know that we'll see a finish, but it is a 5-round fight, so you might see something happen late in like the fourth. Somewhere where you see Fiziev start to fucking die out, because Fiziev, when he fought Gaethje, did die out a little bit towards the end, so you got to be aware of that. However, Fiziev does have that one-punch knockout ability, and not to mention he's got the kicks to go with it. And you don't remember, he did used to kickbox. So the guys, he's got all of that. And just looking at what he did to get to the Gaethje fight initially, he ran through motherfuckers. Was finishing fights. So
we have to admit, Gaethje he's a special fighter.
Oh yeah, he's a special fucking animal. And the other part of that right now is the only fucking loss in the UFC is from fucking Gaethje. He's won the rest of. Oh no, I take that back. He did lose his first fight in the UFC, so he's got 2 losses in the UFC. But then he goes on a fucking, what was it, an 8-fighter tear or something like that, where he's just knocking people out left and right. The only person who took him to decision was Bobby Green, and he outworked the shit out of Bobby Green, and Bobby Green's got a gas tank on him too. We can't forget that. So I don't know if the gas tank thing will come into play, but we did see him get tired in the Gaethje fight. But Gaethje, again, different fucking animal. Even Mateusz Gamrot there, not the same kind of animal that fucking Justin Gaethje is. No. I think it's all going to depend on where the fight ends up. If it's on the feet, it's going to be Fiziev's ballpark. If it's on the ground, I think Gamrot takes it. But can he get close enough inside of all of the striking that Fiziev likes the pressure? The only reason Fiziev lost that fight against fucking Gaethje doesn't back down from pressure. There are very few fighters who don't do that. And Gaethje's one of them. We know Gamrot doesn't, but does he do it to the same extent that Gaethje does? where he's willing to fucking die to keep moving forward. We'll find out.
Well, imagine that. Probably better spin that sumbitch clean the fuck around here. I don't know if you boys been paying much attention to the UFC as of late, but Polish power is fucking real. I am the first one to fucking scream it, and I will hold myself to the same fucking standard. Credit where credit is due. That fucking Matrix kick dodge that fucking Fiziev did against fucking Mark DeCasey that he brought over from Fame doing it during the kickboxing world is cool as shit. It looks badass. But best case scenario, 2 out of 15 fighters are going to throw a kick that you can actually do that against. Gamrot, on the other hand, much like a certain Justin Gaethje, in my opinion, is very much an MMA version of prime Charlie Sheen. He has one speed. He has one gear. Go. There is no slowing down with Gamrot. He is well-rounded enough. If the fight stays on his feet, he can box. If the fight's getting crazy, he can take it to the ground. If it's on the ground, he's defensively sound enough. He can keep himself out of most fucking trouble and give most guys he's up against a problem. Fiziev has a lot of unorthodox tactics and a lot of weird movements, but realistically, when it comes time to having to bite down on your gum shield and be smart about shit, we've seen him put himself in trouble more than just in that Gaethje fight. Gaethje, I feel like, just put a magnifying glass on everything that Fiziev uses as a strength and did it against him, used his own fucking pressure, his own timing, and his own tenacity against him, because he might not back down, but that's not always the best strategy. Sometimes you have to back down and regroup, and Fiziev doesn't like to. He likes to stay in the pocket. Well, so does Gamrot. Gamrot will stay with that pressure as well. He will keep pushing on you, but like I said, he's well-rounded enough. He can keep that pressure anywhere that the fight goes, and he might have only started to wilt in that Gaethje fight, but the pressure that Gaethje put on him, I feel, is going to be very, very similar to what Gamrot puts on him. I think we do get a finish out of this. I think Gamrot is going to wear Fiziev the fuck down. I don't think it's going to be easy, and I don't think it's going to be pretty, but I think Gamrot is going to wear Fiziev down, and I think he's going to put him the fuck down before we see the end of the third. I think mid-third round, Gamrot finally puts it in fucking overdrive and just steamrolls the fuck over him and either gets a KO or a TKO, but I think he stops him. I think Gamrot finishes Fiziev and takes that fucking thunder and keeps rocketing up to the fucking top. That being said, I've been wrong before. It'll probably happen again too. Only way to find out for sure is to tune in this weekend once these fights actually come on. That being said, it's all we've got for this week. But when we wrap up things around here, that's not the end of things, because tomorrow morning and pretty much every Friday morning, that dude over there, that corner over there we go, and his partner throw their very own podcast out there for you. Spreaker.com/SlowBaconContemplate. Link, as always, is down there in the description as well. Check out those boys on their podcast or their social links, as well as the link to their very own channel on the I'm No Joe Discord server. So you can pop over and say hi to them boys there as well.
Appreciate you, brother. The fun never fucking stops, you know. Once we get back around the next week, every fucking Wednesday night around 9 o'clock, around 9:30 Central Time, tune in brother TJ's fucking YouTube channel, Golf T Vapes. You tune into the Foggy Fairway every Wednesday night. Get a little tongue tied there. Show the brother some love. Learn some fucking nice mixes and recipes on your vapes. Just chill and have a good time.
Hey, sir. Ramie, are you ready to jump into this yet, or no? If you're not ready, it's okay. Say you're not ready. Because if you ain't...
What?
Okay. No, if you're saying what, you're not ready. All right.
No.
So in that case, we'll run it here then. So, if you're not aware, the flip-flopper himself, Ramie, does also, outside of just helping us out on the podcast here, run his own podcast. There's the link down below for his Instagram and his podcast for the Mocana culture. Go click on those links. They'll take you over there. Catch them all. Go follow him. Do it all. Talk up to him. Let him know he's a flip-flopper. It'll be a good time. He has his own segment on here about flip-flopping. So he can't not be that guy now. But yeah, go check him out. He's got a lot of cool shit going on there.
Thank you,
also,
TJ.
if you are not aware, the meter does do more than one thing. In fact, the meter does many things. You can go right down below, click on Linktree / the meter does many things. Or there's also Linktree / I'm No Joe. We'll take you to the same place, get you all the wonderful links for all the things that the meter does do. Hit them.
Thank you very much for that. So that being said, that is all we've got for this particular episode. Thank you to everyone, whether you're catching us in the audio version Thursday nights on I'm No Joe, youtube.com/I'm No Joe. Or you're catching in the all audio format, anchor.fm/I'm No Joe. Pick it up to your podcast consumption platform of choice. Listen to us in the background. I get it. I own mirrors as well. I don't blame you. That being said, today is 4 years since the reason we do this left us. So take advantage of every opportunity you have to tell the ones you love that you love them. Don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye?